Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
Hey there, man. What up?
What's
Happy
it
New Year.
Yeah, what's it doing in 2024?
I was
Crazy.
doing.
Yay!
It's
Anyway.
doing, I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Trying a new camera angle out.
We've barely made it into 2024, and you already sound like you're through with it. So
I'm done.
yeah, it doesn't look good for the rest of the
Mostly
year.
because the movies you make me watch.
Anyways, before we get into what we watched this week, because it's a new month, which means it's a new theme, which means we also have some new music to plug here on the podcast. And this month, January 2024, we give a shout out to the band The Wildlife. And let me spell that for you. It's the WLDLFE. No eyes. There's no eyes in that.
There's no eyes in the
name.
wild.
Right, The Wildlife. With their song, All of My Friends. I'm sorry, All My Friends, not all of. It's All My Friends. That's the song. They're an indie pop rock band from Indianapolis, Indiana. They're doing big things, making the journey around the continental United States. So check their website, check the links to all their social media accounts in the show notes. You can find them below, or if you're listening on the podcast, hit the show notes there. They're doing big things everywhere. Just give them a like, follow, subscribe.
Tell them what's up.
Tell them what's up. Tell them the Movie Draft House sent you. Be careful with that, though.
Okay.
Just be careful with it.
What's happened?
Nothing.
Something's happened I don't know about.
No, I would tell you if something happened. There's nothing that's happened. I'm just saying, we're still fragile. And
must be Italian.
we don't. It is.
Someone rewatched Christmas Story recently.
Anyways, Jeff, it's a new month, which means a new theme. So, what's our theme this week? This month.
Our theme this month is films starred by an directing. It's directed and starring.
Yes,
the director is the best
go.
way to put it. For example, if we were to have watched Light of My Life from 2019, that runs for an hour and 59 minutes, that film was directed by and starring Casey Affleck, as well as Anna Panowski and some other people. Elizabeth Moss would be the other name. Mark picked this.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, you said that you had done a 5-minute review over on our YouTube channel.
I did.
And then you picked it, so I imagine you thought it was good.
Yeah, so when I watched it, and I watched it a couple weeks ago, and I just remember, I still vividly remember watching it for the first time because it was only a couple weeks ago. And I'm not like Jeff, where I died once and came back to life and don't have my memory. But
whoa, I have my whoa.
I don't know. Do you have like superpowers now? Do you have certain abilities that are heightened?
None.
Now that you. Anyways, we're cracking jokes that were so last year.
Literally.
But anyways, I watched it in at the time when I watched it, I was just scrolling through movies. I think it was on Prime, and I saw this. I like Casey Affleck. I know you're not a fan of him, but I like him as an actor. I don't really care anything about his personal life or anything like that. I know that he's got a brother, Ben.
Never heard of him.
Right. But I actually think that Casey Affleck is the more talented of the two, as far as kind of just being able to
looking sad on screen.
No, yes, he
has
does.
resting crying face. Just go look up some pictures. Google Casey Affleck, and you'll see a guy who looks like he's on the verge of tears. And it doesn't matter what picture you get.
That's true. It's true. He has constant sorrow face. But I remember I was like, man, that was a really good fucking movie that I just watched. So I went and looked it up on IMDb and started looking at reviews, and then I saw that he directed and wrote this. So and I was like, holy shit.
The last film he wrote, well, I don't know about wrote, but directed, was I'm Still Here, which is a hot pile of trash. I had thought he had directed more films, though. I thought he directed Manchester by the Sea, which he didn't. But for some reason, it was in my brain that he had. But I honestly thought he had way more movies under his belt. Wasn't it not Gone Girl, but wasn't there one Go Girl, Go Get It Girl? Girl. Gone Girl, go baby girl. Jeez. What's it called?
I don't know.
I swear there's a movie. Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone. Yeah. He was not in that.
Yes, he was.
Gone Baby
Yes.
Gone?
Yes. He was not in Gone Girl, which is his brother, but Gone Baby Gone. He's the lead in that. And he looks like he's crying. I mean, it's just what he does. But I, for some reason, had it in my mind, Mandela effect or whatever you want to call it, that he had directed more films. But no, he's got a pair of them. It looks like he's got an upcoming film called Far Bright Star. But his first film, I'm Still Here, I really hate. And I think you even weren't on board with it, but maybe you gave it more of a
What, I'm
pass
still here?
than I would have.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think I recommended it, but it was like it was an interesting concept, right?
No, but it's interesting to you.
Okay, right, fair. Opinions. We all have one, like assholes.
Whoa, speak for yourself. Had mine
you have a
sewn shut.
You got a colostomy bag, don't you?
Yeah, man. It's the life. That's why I can podcast without it getting interrupted.
That's what happens when you die once.
No, not always. This
The,
was totally elective.
Anyways, so when I first watched it, I was like, man, I felt like that was a good film. And it was like a film that stuck with me after I watched it. I felt like the next day I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I need to do a review, like a short review of this. But I also I think I even referenced it in the 5-minute review that if I had the opportunity to pick it, I would here on the podcast, because I wanted you to see it, because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. And so that's really, and it had nothing to, like, this theme had nothing to do with, like, ultimately me getting you to watch this film. It just happened to line up that way. But
you picked the theme.
Right, I did.
For
but
the month. So you had this in mind, didn't you?
I did not have this in mind when I...
Okay.
What movie did we watch a couple weeks ago that was directed by and starring the same person? We watched one.
Was it one of our Christmas films?
It could have been.
Wasn't directed by Goldberg, I can tell you that much.
Should have been. I don't know. It's so and upon this viewing of this one, I was more dialed into the dialogue. And I will say, this film is very dialogue heavy. It has got two main characters, and they're pretty much the only two characters throughout the entire film. But I was dialed into the dialogue is because I felt after I watched it the first time that there's probably a lot of foreshadowing in the dialogue throughout, not just in certain parts, but throughout. And anyways, we'll get into it. But you had never seen it, and your initial thoughts?
I had not seen it, and I set aside my feelings for Casey Affleck and his piece of shit film and his alleged acts. And I really liked it. It is really good. I found it to be quite thrilling and suspenseful, and I liked his use of ambient music for the score. And then at a lot of key points, there'd be no music at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very beautiful looking movie, shot really well. And it was a gripping story.
Yeah, so the 2 hours, and for the first probably 10 minutes of the film, you just get Casey Affleck talking to his daughter, or he's reading or reciting a bedtime story for his daughter. And it's kind of retelling of Noah's Ark, but in a weird,
Yeah, it's fun.
fresh way, right?
Yeah.
And we don't get any clues about the world from this story, but it's just it's an intimate moment between dad and daughter. And we get the feeling from the first 10 minutes that Casey Affleck lives for his daughter in this movie. And that's really all you need. And then after that, because there's kind of a banter back and forth between his daughter and him. And then we get going into the story. I just thought it was a really good introduction to these two characters, is because we get to see how much thought and care that he puts into just his relationship. And then we get the scope broadens, and we find out that this is it's kind of post-apocalypse a little bit, and women don't exist really, other than in certain areas.
It does slowly unwind the tale initially, and then there's a little bit of an exposition dump in the form of newspapers that they show, but
which I'm fine with.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just for the only reason I found it of note is because the movie does at the beginning make a point of not telling you everything or allowing you to figure it out through context clues, right? And then you get to this point where you're like halfway through the film, you pretty much already figured it out, and then it does an exposition dump. I guess for the people in the back who didn't follow the story.
No, it's just. This is a film where I think Casey Affleck's resting sad face really comes in handy.
It really does.
Is because
there's no points where this character's happy anyway.
Right? No, and like that's it's almost like he knows that about himself, which I'm sure he does. But and he knows that his daughter, the actress playing opposite him in this story, is a very hopeful and kind of adventurous character, and she's quizzical and just wants to learn more. And he's constantly having to beat her down in the form of, you can't do these things because you'll die. And he doesn't want to really want to tell her why. And then he stops her from being a kid at different times throughout the movie. And it's heartbreaking, but you understand it, right? You understand that I think she's 12 years old in this movie. That she very much wants to kind of develop herself into who she thinks she should be. And Casey Affleck is like, absolutely not. We have to do things by the book here, because if we don't, they'll kill you or they'll take you, and who knows what
I don't think any of their intentions were to kill her.
No, but I think he, like, at different times he phrases their safety as, if people catch up to us or people find out that you're a female, we may not live, right? And so
he won't. They'll take her. So the whole thing is that they take her. You get a lot. Well, they don't ever say it. A lot of rape would possibly happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the things I thought.
Well,
there aren't any women or a lot of women,
and the backstory is, the world was inflicted by some sort of illness where it killed a majority of the women on Earth, and that's why he's cut his daughter's hair, and she, he passes her off as a boy, and it's just, you know,
Which
it's
feels like nobody actually ever buys it.
well,
Like
I
every
mean,
time, this is a boy, and everybody's like, yeah, okay.
right. But like from the first interaction they have with another human in the movie, in the woods where the old man's at their tent, you know, Casey Affleck is very standoffish. He's very careful, you know, very suspicious of everybody, and his daughter's very like, oh, hey, I'm here. Let me. That's another person. Let me talk to him. You know, and I just felt like their dynamic fit very well. And he's constantly having to battle himself in allowing her to be an adolescent, preteen person that is trying to develop their own identity and keeping them safe. And he's at conflict, right? He doesn't know. He's constantly struggling with what the decision should be. And he kind of gives in, you know, in the kind of the second act of the movie where they find the house. And the daughter really wants to stay there. And he's like, no, we can only stay for a day. And then she's like, but why? She goes, this house is full of dust. There's nobody's been here in however long. And he kind of gives in, is because she's got a point, but also she's shown this this excitement in a world that she doesn't really have any reason to be excited for. And in this house, she finds, you know, girl clothes, and she tries them on, and they fit perfect, and she's so excited. And he comes in, and he's like, no, fuck that, take them off. And he gets upset with her, and he knows that if she's seen outside with those clothes, people will instantly know or catch on that she's probably a female. And it just, man, it strikes me, and I think it maybe resonates more with me than maybe it did with you, is because
You're a girl dad.
I'm a girl dad. Is that I am living that. I'm living the teenager trying to find herself even outside of an apocalypse. and it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle with letting them be themselves while also trying to look out and care for them and make sure they're not doing dumb things, and knowing that they're going to do dumb things and letting them do dumb things as long as they don't kill themselves. I connected with Affleck's character in this film, and I think that's probably a reason why I connected more with him. But I understand it as far as a parent, and I'm sure you do too, is that you put yourself in his shoes, and even if it wasn't a female, it was just, you know, a preteen boy or whatever, and you're just like, how do we allow them to be a kid and keep them safe and also keep them cautious, you know? And it's just the movie constantly deals with, but it's so intimate in how it tells its story. That's why I think that's why it's such a good movie, is that there's hints at broader conflict here, right? But we never see it. The movie never really makes us concerned for it. We see Elizabeth Moss's character in little flashbacks here and there, where she reveals that she's got whatever illness, and then, you know, they have their intimate moment where she tells him, hey, you know, I'm gonna die, make sure you tell her all about me, and this and that. I don't know, man. This movie really struck me.
I can tell. You've been raving about it for about 20 minutes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with everything you said. I really found their camaraderie to be great, and it does show that struggle between allowing her to be a kid and also knowing that she's not allowed to be a kid. I really like the story arc too. By the end of the film, she sort of becomes an adult, right?
Yeah.
He has to, at that point at the end of the film, let go and allow her to assist in the way she can. Like, it's one of those things that's like, you can't not live your life, right? Even, I think of like COVID, and you always take your precautions, like during the pandemic, and do what you can, but you can't really not live your life still, right? You know, you still kind of, it's, my son spent 2 years locked up in the house, and it's like those 2 years of his childhood.
I'll
Like
never get back, right?
Right. And I'd rather him have a chance to be around kids, but we did what we thought was best at the time, and I don't regret it or anything. I'm just saying that that's what came to my mind, is weighing those things out.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're up.
It is it's a struggle for any parent, I think, to kind of let go of. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to where I'm raising a second daughter, and so I have lessons learned from my oldest daughter, and I can see where I made parenting mistakes, and and so with my youngest daughter, I'm trying not to make those same parenting mistakes, but also live in the background, right? Keeping that constant watchful eye, and I feel like Casey Affleck in this film is very much with this internal conflict of, hey, she's smart, and she's showing like the dialogue in the film proves that she's a smart character. He tries to have this birds and the bees conversation with her, and she's like, "You're talking about sex, right?" He's like, yeah.
Where'd you learn about that?
Right.
The books?
Right. And so like the dialogue is smart is because it allows the daughter to stand on her own. And even though like we're getting this exposition that, well, it's not even exposition, it's Affleck's reasoning of, hey, we always have to be ready for this code red, right? And that's the, oh shit, it's hit the fan, we got to get out. It just, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a couple scenes.
Okay.
That the code red scenes, so to speak. So, like you said, they get to that house. They're kind of living there, and she's out being a kid, outside, goofing around, playing around, all that stuff. And then you see him doing all these preparations, like always being prepared, thinking of every situation. And then when the people come to the door, they don't yell or shout. And that makes it feels so much more dangerous, right? Like I think another director would make a different choice to have them yell and pound on the door and try to get in that way. But they're just like, hey, were you the one with the kid? And he's like, no, my brothers are asleep. And he's like, okay, just let us in. And they never raise their voices. And they get to, not Ben Affleck, but Affleck and his daughter are hiding in that little cubby.
Yeah.
And then they get to the door like, come on, just let us in. That sort of deadpan tone that I found so much more frightening than an angry tone.
Well, and those preparations saved their lives, right? Or at least saved his life.
Which was cool because you saw him setting up. You didn't know what it was.
Right.
And then when he actually does it, you're like, oh, snap.
Right. And that's what I'm saying about like this, the directing and the writing being so good here is that those scenes they build his character. It gives credence to the type of character that he said he is up to this point. He is the caretaker. He is, he is her protector, and it pays off in this moment. And so and that's kind of halfway through the film. And so you're like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. Let's trust him. As the viewer, I'm like, all right, I'm all in on Casey Affleck's character. He knows what the fuck he's doing. Everything he's said and done so far has been the right call. And I just, it's just good storytelling there. And then to see them and like his panic reaction is because he kind of just scoops his daughter up and he's like, we got to go. And she's just like, okay, let's go. It's because it's something that he's like bore into her time and time again. And you see it kind of throughout the movie is like, hey, let's walk through this. What are we doing? Where are we going? How do we get here? How do we get there? And it just, up until that point, I was very much on board with who his character was and everything that he had done, because there's choices he's made up to that point where you're like, oh man, you're just being a dick. And then, it pays off, and so you're like, okay, maybe, all right, maybe he knows what he's talking about. He lives this life. Let's throw some trust his way. I just, and we never get like this really big sense of dread either, right? Like it's panic in this house where the guy's beating on the door. We never see him though. I mean, we see him kind of like side shot or distance or a little bit, but we never introduced to any of them. And they get out, through the little exit way that he created, and they take off to the stash. And that's it. And then we're back to square one where they're wandering again. And I just felt like it was a really smart choice to have that scene play out the way it did, is because it really built my trust into these characters that up to that point were just like, oh, he's dad. He's just being a dad. And we didn't really get to see it.
So the other scene is like unto the first, but they found this house that I think is their grandparents' house or whatever. So they're staying there. There's a nice old man who pretty much knows that Rag is a girl from the beginning. Even says, is that like really good scene where he's like, is that your daughter?
Yeah.
Or is that some girl you found? Because he's basically saying to Casey Affleck, if you're not her real dad and you're like abusing her or whatever, he's just not going to let that happen.
All right.
And so Casey Affleck for the first time, maybe in years, tells someone, that's my daughter.
And you can, and like that scene where he kind of struggles to, you just see it written all over his face. He's like, if I tell him, it's out, and he
There's almost a sense of relief on his face though, too, because he hadn't been able to say it in so long.
It's another good scene. What did you think?
Well, I wasn't done.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You added to the conversation. So they're in that house, and there's these three guys, and like the head guy, you can tell he's a good guy. He establishes himself as a good guy. He's not going to tell anyone that this girl is here or anything like that. But then people, like a truck full of men, show up, much like they did at the other house. And he goes across the hall to one of the housemates, and he goes, hey, there's some guys outside. And the housemate just closes the door in his face.
Yeah.
And it's like another oh shit moment. And, you get finally it's a red alert. And it's just the subtle way that the movie talks about danger. It's not a sensationalized film.
Right.
It just feels very like subdued, even in its craziness. I found it interesting too that the movie's rated R. And it's, if you, like, we watched this on Amazon, I'm not sure where you watched it, but it puts that rated R in the corner. It just says violence. And I felt like the violence was still pretty tame. Like,
I mean, the final 10 minutes of the film probably is what made it R, but
right. I think the one that maybe pushed it over the edge was the hammer to the back of the head.
Yeah.
Which is brutal, again, and it was portrayed so much more realistic that I think was part of the problem.
So when he gets to this house and Tom, this guy Tom Bauer is the actor, but he plays a character Tom. We're introduced to the people in the house, and it's three guys. And I felt that was a weird kind of, he just kind of gave himself into this house because it was so cold outside. It was winter, snowing. He knew if they didn't get inside, they'd probably freeze or whatever. But he he makes the decision to go inside this house with these three guys with his daughter. And I felt like that was probably my only critique in this entire film, is that choice didn't line up with what we had known of his character up until this point. Just a very cautious, smart guy. It just seemed like an unnecessary risk, knowing that, he's outnumbered. He's if it came to like, hey, I gotta try to, kill these dudes to get out of this house, it's 3 against 1. And like these other two guys, they weren't no small dudes. And I felt that was a weird choice. I don't know why Casey Affleck chose to portray that scene the way it happens. But and I do think that he probably wrote that scene to make the viewer even more cautious of what the decision was. Like knowing that up until this point, his character had been so cautious, and so the viewer by nature would be like, oh, what are you doing, bro? This goes in the face of everything we just watched. And so maybe that's the decision that was made. But I did like that the scenes with this guy Tom and his housemates, whoever they were. We never introduced to them, but it's very tenseful. It's a
what coining new words.
Is tenseful a word?
Intense. It's very intense.
Look up tenseful. Tell me if it's a word.
Okay.
Just look it up. I'm just telling you to go to.
I'm looking it up.
I'm telling you to go to Google.
No, it's not a word. It's an account on TikTok. I think you're looking for intense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I was trying to back my way out of that one. Intense.
I will point out I didn't correct you. I said, "Ooh," and then you said, "Look it up."
Anyways, because I knew it was wrong. The second you said, "Ooh, that's a new word," I knew it was wrong. But, anyways, but the scenes, like when they're at the dinner table, and it's very intense, and you don't trust Tom, and I didn't trust Tom until he told me his backstory or his family history, right? Until he told me he was married for 36 years and he had 3 daughters and countless grandchildren and all this. And then I'm like, okay, all right. I can get behind that.
Yeah, and it kind of, what made me is when he is like, he knew that she was a girl. And so his question wasn't, is she a girl? It was, is that your daughter?
Is that your girl? Yeah.
Right. And I kind of trusted him then, mostly because at that point, because if he wouldn't go that far, right? He wouldn't let the guy know that he is onto him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, it's and I really, I wish we had gotten more from the character of Tom, because I thought that he was pretty. I mean, I guess his role served its purpose, but
then he gets killed.
Right, Tom, and he gets killed off screen. We don't see him get killed, but the actor Tom Bauer is very he's good. He's good here, and he gives that portrayal of, hey, I'm a guy that he's religious, but he's also very subtly. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but
come up with a new one. He's subtly
tenseful.
Yeah.
No, it's subtly strong, right? He's not an overwhelming man. He's actually smaller man. He's smaller than Casey Affleck in this movie, but he just like the conversation he has with Affleck in that moment of, hey, is this your daughter? It gave you that dad, like that old dad vibe, where you're like, oh, this is my dad's coming down. I mean, okay, I can't lie to him because if I lie to him, he gonna whoop my ass.
Well, and he was backed into a corner too, where he had to tell the truth, right? Because he's like, if you don't tell me the truth, I'm not letting you leave with her anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, I felt like the character of Tom was very, very well done. And then we get another bedtime conversation with Affleck and his daughter, and it plays full circle from the opening scene, except that his daughter Rag is kind of telling the story now, and I just thought that was a cool callback, and it also kind of closed that circle of, hey, these two are living the same life in the same manner, different times, but telling the same story. And it really and it doesn't set up the ending at all, but it kind of gives closure a little bit to the dad-daughter, relationship here, is because, like, we were introduced to their characters this way, and then we go into this final, it's almost like a final battle, where the movie ends. So what'd you think of the ending?
I think it was really good. I think the story told you as much as it could.
Right.
It didn't. What's the way to put this? Because it did kind of end, not abruptly, but you normally have like this structure and storytelling where you have, your conflict and resolution, and we don't get resolution because this is an ongoing sort of reality they're in.
Yeah.
But the movie does a great job of showing you that now Rag has become mature and able to not just take care of herself, but also take care of her dad if need be, because it's pretty much been a one-way relationship. And I think, it shows her taking care of him. It does a call back to something their mom would call love adventures. And I just thought it was really well done. I think it ended at the right place. And I think it told as much of a story as it needed to, and it didn't have to manufacture anything else to allow it to fit a kind of typical 3-act structure.
Yeah, and the final sequence of this film is just it's an onslaught of Affleck fighting for his life, and he fucking fights 3 dudes, and has to go mano a mano.
Yeah, but these aren't action movie fights. These are real hug fights.
No, right. These are like, hey, we got to scrap on the ground fights. And I appreciate that, is because, like, listen, and I'm gonna interject my real life shit here.
All right,
I've scrapped with dudes on the ground, and it's so much.
What you call it?
It's so much yeah. It's so much different than, like, anything you could ever see on TV or a movie. It's like you're rolling around on the ground and you're trying to be the first one up, right? And so I anytime I see a movie where it's like these, like, gritty, like hand on hand combat type stuff where the character is just fighting for survival, right? They're just fighting to live. And you can see that in every so he fights 3 guys, Affleck does. First one in the attic, second one coming out of the attic, and then third one finally, on the first floor of the house. And the first one, I'm just like, shit. And the first one was the hammer. The guy crawls up in the attic where Affleck was, and Affleck has to kind of surprise him, and then the fight's on. and this guy has a hammer. And, like, this fight doesn't go on for very long. Affleck kind of gets the upper hand, and like, it doesn't make any really qualms about showing you that because Affleck had the upper hand of surprise and all that the fight didn't last very long. It is brutal because he ends up beating the guy in the head with a hammer, but you're just
Blunt
like
force trauma.
Well, you never really get the sense that Affleck was in real danger in this fight. And then he kills this guy, and he's like, all right, good, I can go down, because he's already sent Rag outside, and she fell off the roof, and he's like, fuck, I don't know where she is. I got to get to her. And so he starts to climb down out of the attic, and a second guy rushes in and kind of tackles him halfway out of the attic onto the ground. And it's another ground fight. And this one's a little bit different, but Affleck eventually gets the upper hand and, kills this guy too. And you can just tell he's exhausted. Like, he's just like moving around, just like, oh my God, everything's out of me. I just got to get outside. And he finally gets outside and goes face to face with a third guy. And he's like, fuck. He runs back inside the guy, and then it's a fight from there. And this guy actually gets the upper hand on him. This is the fight where I'm like, oh fuck.
I thought he's dead. I thought Ben Affleck died. Ben Affleck. Yeah, fuck it. His name's Ben Affleck.
No, I did. And then the movie purposely does that, right? So Rag can kind of save the day. Which she does, but she doesn't, because she shoots both of them. She shoots both of them with a shotgun. And she kills
He only caught one pellet.
Right. She kills the bad guy, but she also ends up shooting her dad. And like, she's kind of rehabilitate him in a shed wherever they're at. And it's and I think there's a time lapse there that the movie doesn't really expound on. It's just meant to show that, it's been a little bit. But in that time, Rag has become the caretaker. And I thought that was a really good evolution to her character, is because ever since she shot them, she's had to become the caretaker, and she's done a good job of it. She saved her dad's life. Even though he told her early on in the movie that no one's going to kill me, I thought that was a really good moment that proved her point in the entire film, right? Like, we've been told that she's smart and that she's capable up to that point, and then we find out that, at the end of the movie, that she can do these things. And then in the end, he tells her, hey, we're going to go to this place that, is a safe haven for women. And then her look at the end of the movie, where the movie ends. And it was kind of like, I thought that, maybe she's not on board with that. Because it's kind of an emotionless scene from her, where it's just, he says what he says, and then she's just like, kind of dead stare. And it's kind of ambiguous for, what is the interpretation of that?
Yeah, I think it's a great ending. But the question at hand is, and I think we all know the answer, do you recommend this movie?
Oh yeah, this one. I mean, to start the year off with this caliber, fuck yeah, let's go. I'm afraid that by the year's end, this is going to be an afterthought, but hopefully not. Hopefully, hopefully we have a good year, but I can definitely see this being a top 5 movie come week 52 of this podcast.
Well, we'll see. We got a long way to go, and I got a lot of shitty movies to pick that might sway you.
Yeah, you do.
So, yeah.
What about you? Do you recommend this one?
Yeah, I recommend it, but I want to watch some shitty movies. So, I don't know why I'm saying that, but yeah, I recommend it. It's really good. I can't fault it. Like I said, it's very thrilling and engaging, and I think you could find a lot to like here.
Well, I appreciate you letting me give my rantings about how much I liked about
you
this
liked
movie.
it a lot more. Just fair enough. You know, there are plenty of episodes, mostly based around Van Damme, where I was just like, this is the best shit of all time.
Speaking of Van Damme, what are we watching next week?
Jean-Claude Van Damme in Sling Blade. Of course, he's not in it. It's written and not Daniel Day-Lewis. Help me out. Billy Bob Thornton. written, directed, and starring. We've got the triple threat again.
Right.
I've never seen it. It's supposed to be this great movie everyone loves, but I'll be the judge of that.
I have also never seen it.
I'm really surprised. This feels like a movie you would have seen.
No, it's been on my list. Like every time, like I see it or I see Billy Bob Thornton, and I'm like, damn, I haven't seen that movie that everybody said he's really fucking good in.
The late great John Ritter's in this.
Yeah,
Robert Duvall.
Listen, I'm excited just because I've just never sat my ass in front of a TV and put Sling Blade on, and I've been meaning to.
It's got Brent Briscoe, who was in A Simple Plan, if you remember that.
I remember the band Simple Plan.
No, it was a movie. Wasn't it a movie we watched? Or no, I did a
Simple,
5-minute review on that.
Did you?
Yeah, that was a 5-minute review. Never mind. I thought you had watched it. Never mind.
You hadn't done one in a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, they're hard to do. They take like 5 minutes to make.
You only have to record it.
I know. I have no excuse.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Where's it streaming at, by the way?
It looks like Prime. No,
Nice.
That's the movie we just watched. What the hell was it called again? Sling Blade?
Oh, Dwight Yoakam's in this? Let's fucking go.
Never heard of him.
He's a country singer.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Look up Dwight Yoakam on your YouTube music.
No, I'm not doing that. I don't do country music. Listen, it's one thing that we've never gotten into, but I fucking hate country music.
Why?
Because it's bad. I would put it this way. It's my example of it is, or actually what I reversed it was the romantic comedy. And I mean this in a mainstream sort of sense. There is good country music like Willie, and that's it. But no, I mean there are what I would consider more Americana sort of stuff I like. But your Travis Tritt's, your fucking that's the only one. Alan Jackson, those guys, I hate it. I hate it so much. It makes me want to throw up. I hate the phony accent, the twang. I hate it so much. And the songs lack substance. They're just trash. And there are country musicians who paved the way, like Willie, like Burl Haggard, and then these numbskulls come along and just pump out shit. So when I say I hate country music, it's a very specific.
It's very personalized.
Mainstream. Okay, so I'll tell you the story of why. Because for a long time I knew I hated it and I couldn't remember why. So I went camping with my cousin, and like a whole family was there, but my cousin was there, and my brother and I were sitting out by the fire, warming up. It was a perfect day for camping, and she turns the radio on, and it's country music, and then it all came flooding back to me. My cousin's house, I had 3 cousins, all girls, lived in this house, and they had a stereo system that had speakers in every room. So if one person put on an album or whatever, it played in every there was no escaping it. And it was country music. And that's where it came from. I hate that crap. And anybody, like what you like, I'm sure I've been told so many times that by people that they don't like Weird Al Yankovic. That's fine. I don't care. But boy, country music is just the worst. Anyway,
I love the personalized hate. I do. I'm
glad.
I admire
I don't
that.
mean any offense. I have said it to other country music fans, and they always go, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well,
I'm not a fan of country music. I was kind of raised on country music, and I'm just like, So like older 70s, 80s country is kind of where I'm like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, like I can get behind some of that, right?
Yeah.
But don't give me Billy Ray Cyrus. Like. It's like any genre of music, to be honest. there is like your poppy stuff, that's
Sure.
kind of fun popcorn stuff,
radio
relaxing
stuff.
But yeah, and that's the same with country music. It's just the same shit over and over. But because I was forced to sit through it, there's other genres of movie or music I don't like or don't enjoy, but no one ever forced me to listen to it. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I think that's where it really comes from.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten that tangent out of the way, want to give a shout out to this this
It's a country
month's
band.
music. The Wildlife with the song "All My Friends." They're a indie rock band from Indianapolis, Indiana. So be sure to hit the show notes, give them a like, follow, subscribe. They're doing big things. We appreciate them. Allow us to use their music here on our podcast. If you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, we're at Movie Draft House, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube, where some of you may be watching us. Make sure you hit the the subscribe button when it pops up. That way you don't miss any future content here on the podcast. And if you want to follow Jeff on Twitter and tell him, hey, man, you got to let that country hate go. That's just weighing you down. You can find him at Podcast by Jeff.
It's become too much of my identity to let go, to be honest. My brother and I, because my brother was there, and we both kind of had the same realization. And I don't know if he hates it as much as I do, but it's a shared loathing. If you want to get in touch with Mark and find out his favorite country music artist, you can do that on Twitter at I Heard You Liked.
It's the band Alabama. You don't got to, you said
You
that.
don't have to think about it.
No, it's the band Alabama. That's the country music that I associate with.
Well, there you go. Well, if
look 'em
you
up.
want to also check out my other podcast, Chronologically, you can look that up. Coming near the last couple months of the season, and just find that wherever you get your podcast.
What's the current season?
We're still in the Shyamalan.
Oh, we're still in Shyamalan? Okay.
In real life, we've finished, and it's all edited and uploaded.
Right.
But we're currently in Shyamalan. Next season's going to be Stephen King movies from the 70s and 80s, doing those in chronological order, and then we haven't decided what we're doing past that just yet.
So it's the holiday season when we're recording, right? And John Hughes, man. When you do John Hughes chronologically,
Dude, it's on the list. It's going to be slamming.
yeah, it's got to be soon, right? He's got to be at the top of the.
He's one of the I mean, there's like Spike Lee, him. Then we have some other more little obscure ones, but that's about it. I mean, the big ones that we definitely want to get around to are Spike Lee and John Hughes.
Yeah.
And I think like Tim Burton's on there. So
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. So make sure you're following that podcast too, because they're doing fantastic things. Jeff, any words of wisdom? What are we starting the year off with? What are we doing?
I should have thought of something if such an occasion as this. But it's okay to like what you like, and it's okay to hate what you hate, and nobody has to be offended by it. There, how's that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. What I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about media. It's not okay to be racist.
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
listen, you can not like whoever you want. You can like whoever you want.
Just not based on race.
It's not okay to hate people based on certain demographics, right?
But if they make shitty movies like The Fountain, it's totally fine.
If you're a Darren Aronofsky fan, I hate you.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I just don't understand you. I don't hate people who like country music. I just hate country music.
Fair enough.
We'll see you next week.